Number one, giving your child, now obviously when I say your child also, you can think about your students as well. Giving your child or your students the tools to succeed in life. The second is doing whatever you have to do to like living with or teaching your children. The third is this one is based on building the right relationship with a child more than using the right techniques. And the fourth is helping your child develop inner controls that last a lifetime. What do you think about those? You don't look too interested. Discipline isn't exciting? Alright, let's try something a little bit differently. If you're listening, hands in the air! If you're listening, touch your nose. If you're listening, touch your ears. If you're listening, touch your toes. Oh boy. Are we going to have to go over head, shoulders, knees, and toes? Or should we just get started? Okay, just check. Alright, let me ask you a question. What's the difference between the way that I'm being right now and the way that I was being about 30 seconds ago? Okay, say this one person yell out loud.
More energy.
More energy. Okay, what else?
Wow.
Alright, now, would you rather be the way that I'm being right now or the way that I was being about 45 seconds ago? Right now. Okay, so here's my question to you. Was it your fault or your responsibility as the students that you weren't as interested in what I had to say or you weren't as engaged in what I was talking about? Or was it my fault or my responsibility as educator that I didn't get you engaged? Who's going to blame yourselves? She's already pointed at me. Okay. Jumping ahead, gotcha. Okay. Always one in the class. Who's going to put that responsibility on me? Raise your hand or point to me. Just point. It's polite to point. Whoever told you it's not polite, please just point at them. Alright, so now here's another question. If you have children in your classroom, it's kind of weird if you don't, but if you have children, you think about that. But if you have children in your classroom, and you have a child that's not engaged, you have a child that's not interested in what's going on in the class, is it the child's fault or responsibility that the teacher hasn't figured out a way how to engage them? Or is it your, as the teacher's, responsibility or fault that you haven't figured out a way? Who's going to blame the child? Not who wants to, who's going to? I like how this starts, people are just like, if you blame him, I will. Okay. Or who's going to take that responsibility on for themselves? Raise your hand. Yeah, your hands go up a lot slower when it's your responsibility. But when we're blaming you, it's a lot easier. Okay, so this is the thing. In my world, and this is just my world, in my world, not this, but here. In my world, everything is about choice, okay? You can't get anybody to do anything that they don't want to do unless you figure out a way how to get into their brain and get them to choose to do that thing that you want them to do. For example, how many of you ever get into an argument with your husband or boyfriend, significant other, and they tell you, relax? Oh. And you immediately, and then they say, take a deep breath. And you immediately go, oh, thank you, honey, I feel better. Let's continue the conversation. No? But how come when your kids are throwing a fit, you tell them to relax, you tell them to take a deep breath, and you expect them to do something that you would do? I mean, you expect them to do like the opposite. Does that make sense? See, everything's about choice. We communicate so ineffectively with our children, yet we think we're communicating effectively. We say things to our kids that we would never accept for ourselves. Finish this sentence. You get what you get.
You don't get upset.
Of course. Now, go out to dinner tonight. Order your favorite. I need a thought. Just somebody raise your hand. Be a good listener. Bubble your mouth. Okay. Raise your hand. Tell me what's your favorite meal. Someone raise your hand. See how hard it is? You wonder why your kids don't listen. Okay. One person. All right. What's your favorite meal?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Spaghetti meatballs. So you order spaghetti meatballs from your favorite Italian restaurant, and the waiter brings you out this big Caesar salad for dinner. And you say, excuse me, as politely and respectfully as possible, I didn't order this, I ordered spaghetti and meatballs. And he turns to you and says, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. Who's going to take that? Some of you might, oh, he's having a bad day, people please. allergies or whatever. Okay, so this is what I want you to understand. We're going to go on a journey, and the journey is going to be a journey into your own mind. And it's going to be a journey to have you understand and experience what we say, what we do, and then what really works. See, in my world, if something doesn't work, don't do it. Billy, come here, Billy. I'm only going to say it one more time. Billy. Now you're going to say it 5 times till the vein in your head. Billy. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. What's that called? Insanity, crazy. Okay, how many of you drive yourself insane in your school, in your classes? And it's okay, you know why? Because maybe you don't know another way to do it. And that's okay, that's what we're here for. We have to put, here's the thing though, for this workshop to be effective, for this workshop to be powerful, we have to put something at stake. I know you love your staff development workshops. You're going to be disappointed. There's no PowerPoint. I'm sorry. Okay? We're actually going to be communicating with each other. We won't be texting or Facebooking or tweeting or all this other stuff. We'll actually be talking to each other. Okay? I want to hear from 3 people. Why did you become a teacher? Because everybody has these worksheets. Okay, you're getting them now. So the first thing on the worksheet, okay, it says, why am I a teacher? If you don't have it, just raise your hand. And you guys can still hold your hands up and listen to the conversation. I want to hear from 3 people, why did you become a teacher? Now, I don't want to hear I became a teacher because I'm here to help children and I'm looking for the opportunity. Okay, I know no one's going to say, I became a teacher because of the salary. Okay? Police officers become police officers because at some point in their life there was either a police officer there at a certain moment in their life where it made a difference for them, or something happened in that person or that child's life and they turned out wishing there was a police officer there, so they made a decision in their mind, I'm going to be a police officer so something like that doesn't happen. Okay, same thing with doctors, same thing with a lot of things that we create in our lives are because of little moments that happen when we're little kids. Okay, so I want to hear from 3 people, why did you become a teacher? If I think it's going to be kind of like a BS answer, I'm just going to do a very respectful like that for you, okay? Now, just to let you know, I'm going to pre-frame a little bit, preface, okay? This is a politically incorrect workshop, okay? Good. Now, the reason why is because politically correct is impossible. For me to be able to run a politically correct workshop, I need to psychically read every single one of your minds, know every single thing that's happened in your life, so that I know not to say something that would offend you. Is anybody here think that's even reasonable or possible? Okay, just checking with you guys. All right, good. Okay, that's the whole entire point, because why we talk about political correctness is we're going to be talking about responsibility. And the responsibility is what's going to give you the power in your classroom. Some of you may feel like you don't have as much power as you want to have in your classroom. Some of you crack the whip and your children are disciplined and everything's fantastic. You can leave. Okay, but now, those people... Okay, one person's actually leaving. That's awesome. Okay. Hey, listen, if you got it, you got it. So I'm out of here. I want to hear from 3 people, why did you become a teacher? Who, like, for example, I know why I became a teacher, and I also know why I like to have things fun. Like, I can't do anything boring. It boggles my mind. The reason was because in 11th grade, I couldn't stand school. 5th grade, 6th grade, I had teachers that would go with, here's your homework, here's your this, here's your that, you know, hope you love learning, you know, okay, great, fantastic. I had an 11th grade teacher, Mr. McAvoy. I went to school in East Brunswick. I went to, in East Brunswick High School, I had a teacher by the name of Mr. McAvoy. He came in, this is how he set up the class. It's a history class. Woo! You know, very exciting. You know, and the only reason we know history, you have to learn history because history repeats itself. Can you say something else? Nope, that's all I got. Okay, so, that's what somebody else told me. It repeats itself just like I am right now. So, he came into the classroom and he's like, this is what we're going to do. Every week we're going to have a quiz on Friday. We're going to study on Monday and Tuesday. Whatever you do at home and in your groups together will determine if Wednesday and Thursday we study some more, or if Wednesday and Thursday I just tell you war stories. And I just tell you silly stuff. And we're just like, all right, well, what's going on here? Like this seems like fun. Are you sure you're in the right spot? So he tests us out. We have our first quiz. Half the kids do good, half the kids do bad. We spend the next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday going over the exciting world of history. And then Thursday, he spends all day telling us jokes. And in Vietnam, he did this. And there's stuff that you would not be allowed to talk in school about because it's fun. So what happens? So then the next week, we start realizing, wow, we want more of these jokes. And it was amazing. The people in the classroom, without even his guidance, the jocks, the nerds, the dorks, whatever it was, the kids, the burnouts, whatever you wanted, everybody was like creating groups together to work so that we would help the other kids rise up because we wanted to hear more jokes. And it worked amazingly because that was the only class that I got an A in. It's because I wanted more jokes. I mean, I listened to an interview years ago. Adam Sandler was talking about, in high school, he had a teacher, it was the last period of senior year, he had a teacher that pretty much said to him, look, you're disrupting my class. No duh, okay? You're disrupting my class. What I want you to do is this. If you don't disrupt the class, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, on Friday, for the last 15 minutes of class, I'm going to let you come up in front of the whole entire class and do 15 minutes of stand-up comedy. Next week, he did no peep Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, he did his whole entire 15-minute routine. I think that pretty much worked out for him, right? Yeah. You know, producing. I mean, I may be the only person in the, in here that actually likes Adam Sandler. Does anybody here like Adam Sandler? Really? Good for you. What'd you do? What'd you like some pie? I don't get it, and it's hysterical. Okay? But then again, I have a 40-year-old sense of humor, so it's perfect. So I want to hear from 4 people. Why did you become a teacher? Right? I want to hear 4. Now, does that mean that everybody starts talking to each other? Or does that mean that 3 people raise your hands? Okay, good. All right. Yes, ma'am. Can you yell out loud, or do you want me to throw the Jerry Springer mic at you?
Really exciting. It's just that when I was in school, I was always petrified, dry, had this fear of school, and never knew why. And I always felt like I could relate to the kids when they were uncomfortable in school. And for some reason, I think I do have this. I have a way to relate to them to make them feel more comfortable, make them feel loved. And I think that's one of the reasons why I went into teaching.
I like that. That works. Okay. All right, awesome. All right, thank you for still being a teacher. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, somebody else from this side. Why did you become a teacher? Nobody knows. Okay, we're going to go back to this side. Some of you were still asking yourself that same question before you walked in here. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
It's actually a second career. I was in business for 12 years.
Okay.
And then I was home for 7. And then I was involved with the schools, and I love toys, as my staff will attend to.
Understood.
And I just thought it was a great way to bring my love of toys and bring the excitement to the classroom and have some fun.
Nice. Okay, so a love of toys and bringing excitement to the classroom, because everybody here can attest your classrooms are the most exciting in the world, right? Like especially like your circle time, when the kids are all sitting and you're singing, or you're playing with toys, or you're drumming, or maybe you're going, okay, who can tell me what the weather's like today? The sun is out today and it is nice out. Okay, great. Who? I wonder why there's a kid running around in circles. This is so exciting. Okay, just checking with you guys. All right. Anybody? Okay, that's perfect. Right down the middle. Yes, ma'am. Nice and loud.
When I was in 3rd grade, I had this teacher. Her name was Miss Shuali, and she left quite an impression. We did like a unit on like the Roaring 20s, and one of the popular drinks at that time is like a six pop with like a pretzel rod.
Okay.
And she actually drank soda, and then she got us really engaged in that whole unit, dressed as it. Yeah. So she was like fun. So I wish I could be more fun as a teacher like her, because I feel that I was able to
but that's awesome. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we have, so this is what I want you to do. I want you just to write down on that piece of paper 2 sentences. Why did you become a teacher? Maybe like somebody was there, someone was a role model, something happened, whatever it was, okay? Because this is what we have to put at stake. So why am I up here? I'll tell you a little bit about myself, because I know you guys see so many men in, the world of preschool, okay? Like the UPS guy comes in, you're like, a man! Okay. Especially when they're rocking the shorts, right? I started my education into actually teaching when I was 15 years old. When I was 12, I started doing martial arts. And in my opinion, martial arts is one of the most important things in a child's life that could do it. If you're going to come up to me later and ask me, like, because we're going to do Q&A and everything, and you're going to ask me, what should I do about this, what should I do about that? First thing, my question is, put your kid in karate. I mean, that's number one. Like, when you guys hear martial arts or you hear karate, how many of you have kids that do martial arts? Raise your hand. Okay, in the blue shirt with the glasses on your head, can you tell me one characteristic that your kids have picked up from martial arts? Self-confidence. Self-confidence, okay? Somebody from here, just yell out something about martial arts. Discipline, respect. Somebody from over here, they're winning. Individuality, what else? Focus. Okay, self-respect, self-confidence, individuality, focus. But if you watch a karate class, you talk about that for 2 or 3 minutes, but all they're doing is really punching, kicking. But how do they learn all that? Because in the martial arts world, respect and discipline is mandatory, and it's the first thing that you're taught. This is your sensei, you come onto your floor, you bow in, and then you start the class, and the instructor is there to discipline. Remember when discipline used to be a positive word? And now discipline, oh, you discipline your child? Yeah, they listen. They do? I mean, so it's weird. So when I started teaching martial arts, I was 15, going on 16. I was testing for my first black belt. And what happened was I joined something called the SWAT team, Super Winning Attitude Team. And I would teach my children how to do all different moves and techniques. And they would say what your kids say to you. They would say, every time I would say to do something, they would say, yes, sir. Right? To the female instructors, like when all your children, when you give them instruction, all your children say, yes, ma'am, and they do it immediately, right? Oh, you're laughing? What do you mean? Your kids don't... So that's the world that I came from. Now fast forward, I'm going to college trying to figure out what I want to do. My first degree is in business. I'm almost done getting my master's in education right now. But back then, I didn't really have a full understanding about education. But I started going to a karate school, and this karate school was unique because the husband was an elementary school teacher, the wife was a preschool teacher. About a year before I met them, they both quit the school system around the same time due to something called, I don't want to pronounce it right, politics? Is that how you say that? Okay, so they left, and they opened up a karate school, and I started working with them for about 2.5 years, learning how to teach children martial arts, but developmentally age-appropriate programs. So like literally, I would have to write lesson plans so that students will be able to learn this technique. So he taught me how to work with children ages 6 all the way to 18, and then she taught me how to work with children ages 2.5 all the way up to 5. And then she wanted to have another child, so literally she was training me to take over her program for 9, 10, 11 months, whatever it was. So awesome. So I'm working with them, a couple of years go by, we had a couple of outside ancillary programs, he wanted to shut all those down and just focus on the karate in his school because he wanted to grow a school. I believe that karate should be out as much as possible to all the kids, so that's why we went our separate ways, still had a great relationship, it was awesome. November of 2004, I'm running a karate birthday party, and a director of a Goddard school came up to me afterwards and she's like, oh, well, can you do this type of program in a preschool? Because it was interesting. It was actually a birthday party for 2.5 and 5-year-olds because I think the 2.5-year-old's birthday was in October and the 5-year-old's birthday was in December, so they kind of, they just put it all together. So she came up to me, she said, can you do this type of program in preschool? Like, do you have lesson plans and curriculum? I said, absolutely, 100%. Note to self, great lesson plans and curriculum. Whatever. I hard could that be? You don't spend that much time on it, right? Okay. So, do this. Okay, then I went back and really put them into that. So the first time, so January 16, 2005, I walk into the preschool for the first time. Now, like I said, for the first time. And we're supposed to do three or four 30-minute classes, 9:30 to 11:30. We later moved at 9:45 to 11:45 because the kids had to, I guess they were snacking. You gotta feed these kids like all the time. You know, so I gotta grow, I gotta feed them, wow, whatever, get a job. So, all these kids they started snacking them, so they're like, listen, I know you're set up for 9:30, can we start at 9:45? I'm like, fine. So whatever, I just took my time. So what I started doing, oh wow, is it better like this or better like this?
Better.
Thanks for no response. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Because when you ask your kids the same thing, they just look at you. Okay. So, first thing I did was I just started putting my poly spots out. You guys have these in your school? I love these things. Because when I moved to my new apartment about 3 years ago, I have a big old couch. And my friends come over. I used to be a pro wrestler, so my friends come over for wrestling events and like UFC and things like that. But I got two buddies of mine, Mike and Mark. Now Mike is like me. He's happy-go-lucky. Nothing bothers him. He's like, I'm gonna get up and move to Florida. He's like, okay. Then he just left and moved to Florida. I mean, it was awesome. Like, I want to do that. Like, let's go. Okay. My other buddy Mark, oh, negative this, negative. Like, I asked him one day, what would your life be like if you had nothing to complain about? And like he was quiet for 5 seconds, which is 5 seconds, and they started complaining about that question. Does anybody know anybody in their lives that if they had nothing to complain about, they wouldn't know what to do with them? Yeah, she's raising her hand. Yes, somebody, you're going. Okay. So what I did was, me being the typical guy jerk that I am, I'm like, so now here's the thing. I never understood why when you're hanging out with your friends and you're ordering out, why you can only order from one place. I mean, look at me, I'm gonna cover the minimum order, okay? So, like, I want Chinese food and they want Italian. It's like, I'm gonna order Chinese food. They're like, okay, fine, I'll get you. I'm like, no, you can order Italian. That'd be more fun, though. Race there, see who gets there first. So, I start putting the spots down on my couch. And I'm like, the person that sits on this spot first gets to pick where we're going to, where we're ordering from. Now, Mark, dude, I'm not one of your 4-year-old kids at your stupid preschool. And this, I'm not doing that. All of a sudden, I corner my eye, I see Mike. I said, dude, we're ordering Chinese food. And he's like, that's not fair. So I put the spots down, and now here's the thing too. I never, like, when I was growing up, I'm 39, when I was growing up, like, I went to kindergarten when I was like 5, and before that, like, preschool was home. That was it. It's like, we didn't have to learn stuff because kids weren't as smart that we were stupid, and we were just like, okay, can you spell? Perfect. Kindergarten. There we go. Great. So I'm looking around, and the thing is, I asked the director, I'm looking around, there's all these like little kids there. And I looked over to one room over there, and there was this little, like, these babies, like little. And I said to the director, there are babies over there. She goes, I know. And I'm like, how young do you start the kids off? Like, oh, well, the parents drop them off at 6 weeks old. Because on the sign, it says 6 weeks to 6 years. I think they just started that to make it look nice, because you can't really do 5 weeks, that's a little silly. 5 weeks to 5, so 6 weeks. And I'm like, but you're not even supposed to take a puppy away from its mom until like 8 weeks. And now it's like, pop, 3, 4, 5, I gotta get a job. Here you go, watch this, I'm not cleaning. Okay, so, now here's the thing. How many of you have children that used to be babies? Just checking. For those of you that didn't raise your hand, okay. There's 4 babies sitting in this little table. And I'm watching them, and I was getting intrigued. Like, I can actually have more fun watching my dog and cat run around the room chase each other than anything on TV, because I'm more of these, like, hippie-ish, like, I enjoy, like, the simple things in life. Like, I'll go outside, and if I see, like, a bird, I'll, like, stare at it and be present. You know what that means? This is not present. Oh, okay, so that's not present. So I'm looking and I'm watching the babies, and they're talking to to each other. How many of you work in the baby room? Okay. How many of you ever worked in the baby room? How many of you are not going to go near a baby ever? Okay. Now the babies, they started talking to each other. And one baby went, and the other one went, and then all of a sudden there's like this snot bubble just got bigger and bigger. And you think it's going to pop, but it doesn't. It's made out of some material. Like, you just want to go up there and like, okay, pop this up. So now all of a sudden, now for those of you that don't speak babyese, I'll explain what happened. I'll decipher. So the one baby said, hey, what are you doing today? And the other one said, pooping. What about you? That sounds about right. And then he's like, well, what color? So the one goes, well, I had yams this morning, so orange. And the other one goes, all right, well, I had peas this morning, so I'm going to go for like a dark green. And my teacher loves that because you see the expression on her face when she sees it. So enjoy your breakfast. All right, so now, all of a sudden, now it's time, like I said, these kids are all needy, you gotta feed them all the time. So all of a sudden, the teacher comes around and she starts giving the kids, their baby bottles. Give this kid one, and then she gives, the other kid one. And then all of a sudden, yes, I travel with baby bottles. And all of a sudden, one of the babies, after they're drinking, does, really? Right. All of a sudden, one of the babies does one of these. So happy that didn't go off the stage. Okay. So, and then all the babies stop. And they look at the bottle on the ground, and they look at the baby, and then they look at the teacher, and they all go. And the teacher goes, no! Because that always works, right? And then all of a sudden, I could imagine, literally the teacher felt like she was like, I mean, like a gorilla flying off of a vine. And then, do they still do that, or is that just Doggy Dog? So then they put the things right there, and then all of a sudden, like the one other baby then throws the one bottle, and the second baby throws the one, and all of a sudden the teacher's like, what's going on? And the other teacher swings in, and she's picking up, and these kids are throwing stuff on the floor, and they're having a park. Two kids went like that. I mean, it was awesome. It was crazy. And then all of a sudden I'm watching, and then one of the babies goes, this is so much fun. And then the one was like, oh, I can't wait till the food gets here. The rest of it, and the other one goes, it's like 9:30, I'm here till 6, this is gonna be great. All right, so now, here's a question for you. Who's running that classroom? Why are you laughing? Seriously, who's in charge of that classroom? But wait a minute, but we are adults. I graduated at a hat, and I went like this, and I went to the other side, I went live, and everyone else did, so I did that. Okay, so the babies are running that classroom, but we think we're running it. We're not. Consider, now here's the thing. We're going to use a couple of three-word phrases, not four-letter words, three-word phrases. You can use those under your belt, okay? One I'm always going to ask you is it working? Meanwhile, okay, is it working? If anything that you do is not working, don't do it. If it's working, do it. If you try something over and over and over again and it's not working, but you don't have another solution, ask somebody else. It's okay. How many of you know everything? How many of you want to raise your hand? There's so much that you don't know. And there's so much that you don't know. And it's okay. See, here's the thing. You're looking at me like it's all serious, but how many of your parents think they know everything about raising their kids, and they know nothing? Yeah. Oh, now it's everyone's, the parents are not here. You can do what you want, they're not. I mean, here's the thing. If you went to a mechanic, are you going to go to the mechanic and say, listen, I think the alternator cap needs to be reversed by a distributor? But no, you let the mechanic give you the idea. If you get an attorney, are you going to tell the attorney, I think really the defense should be this, and then, no, you let them do it. But it boggles my mind why a parent will come up to an educator who went to school for education and then tell you how to raise their kids. Isn't it like ridiculous? Because something in their mind kicks in that if they made a mistake with their kid, they feel something horrible. Anybody have any kids that lie? Yeah, they all lie. Every kid lies. Oh, I lie, of course. And when I ask a parent, "Oh, are you saying my child's a liar?" Yeah. And if you're about to tell me your child's not a liar, now I know where they get it from. But I'm my own boss and I can't fire myself, so I can say that. But then I'll joke around and say, and eventually, your child will become, they'll grow up one day, they'll become a professional liar, lawyer, whatever you want to call them. Then it won't make that big of a deal. Okay? But that's the thing, because they think that there's something wrong with their parenting if their child's a liar. If your kid isn't a liar, then they're not using their imagination, they're not being creative, they're not testing the bounds. Have you ever seen your kids looking in a mirror, practicing faces, and then like an hour later, they go and try to turn their head, isn't their ear closer to your mouth? Shouldn't they listen? Is the same child that's not listening, if they're 30 feet across the room, and they're in their own little circle time, or they're doing their own thing, and they happen to whisper their name, and you hear their ears like, doink, like pop up. Anybody ever watch a cat sleep? Radar dishes, the ears are going on all the time. That's how your kids are. Consider that try on. Remember how we talked about try on? Try on that it's not that they're not listening. It's not that they're being disrespectful. They know that for the next 30 seconds, this game will eventually lead to them looking you at the eyes. You feel like you got something done and became successful, and then you let them off going, and then they go, "Good, you forgot what you were yelling me about. I'll see you later." They push your buttons. With babies, how many of you, I want you to think about one child, okay? On your little handout sheet, I want you to think about one child in your classroom. Think about a negative behavior and how they train you. Like some kids create this situation to get this. How many of your kids know exactly what to do to go to the director's office? How many of your kids know? There are kids that don't get hugs at home. They see another child throw a fit, get in trouble, and at the end get a hug, and in their brain it goes, "Oh, that's how you get a hug." Because we didn't communicate clearly to them, if you want a hug, ask for a hug. So then they toss a fit, they do this, they get in trouble, they get redirected, and then they come back and the teacher talks to them, "Oh, was this a good choice?" and all that other stuff that they don't care about. All the things you said, "Was that a good choice?" You're talking to me instead of everybody else. I guess it was a good choice. What did we just talk about? I don't remember. You should probably pay attention yourself when you're talking. I mean, all this stuff that we say to the kids. Think about your one child. Now here's the thing. Behavior management is very simple. If you had a classroom with 30 kids, would it be easier to run the classroom with one teacher or with 3 teachers? Now, okay, I'm sorry, this is a preschool rule. Okay, so 1 to 12, 1 to 8. Okay, if you're in a classroom with 20 kids, okay, so that's what, 4-year-olds, 20 kids? How many teachers? 2, right? Would it be easier to run the class with 2 teachers or 4? 4, obviously. So what you do is, to get behavior management to work, you recruit the kings and the queens in your classroom. The kings are the boys that are the headmaster manipulator. Now some of you might say, "Oh, I have a couple of kings." Do you really have a couple of kings, or do you have one king and a bunch of princes, aka copycats? Okay? Think about the one child that's running your classroom, whether you like it or not. And they're doing it to get attention on that side, but they're not doing it the way that sharing is. You can try to teach your kids. This is how I teach sharing. Do you like it when your friends share with you? Yes. Then if you want them to share with you, share with them. Then their brains go, "Oh, I get something out of it," because that's how it, okay, now I'm going to share. Or instead of, "You have to share." Why? I'll get back, because I said so. How's that working? Got it. Some people don't like me, and then eventually they realize this is here to bring joy to you. This is here to bring passion to you. This is here for the people that came into work one day and they said, "I can't wait to be with the kids," and now it's, "I can't wait till it's 6 o'clock. Right? You lost that passion, you lost that fire. These kids, the ones that push your buttons the most, are the ones that love you the most. But here's the thing, we don't communicate directly enough to them. How many of you have kids that display negative behaviors, but they also are the ones that help you clean up at the end of the day? Okay? Because maybe at that point, there was finally one clear communication. You clean up, I like you. You clean up, I give you attention. Everything else is different. First thing we have to do okay, so for those of you that look, that's called a pattern jump. No, half of you guys didn't even bite. Fine, you're looking. All right, so here's the thing. Behavior Manager 101, Schwa structure system. Pattern interrupts, pre-frame, power look. You got the handouts, you get them again. First things first, you have to get your children to be looking and listening to you. If they're not doing that, you're not going to get their attention. What was the first pattern interrupt that I used during this workshop? Change my voice, touch my nose, touch my this, touch my that. Absolutely 100%. You have to pattern interrupt them to get their attention. If your pattern interrupts are not, this is not an effective pattern interrupt. Joey, Susie, Billy, Shaquita, John, Ansh, whatever, just yelling their name doesn't work. Okay? If it works, it doesn't work. But if I walk into a classroom and I have 20, 30 kids who are doing this and that, I go, whoever's listening, hands in the air. Whoever's listening, touch your nose. Whoever's listening, put a bum in your mouth. All the kids are saying, stop. And they look at me for 2 seconds, which is all I need. If I walk in, now here's what they do. Before I say the next couple, remember, you're preschool teachers working in a preschool. You're allowed to be silly. You don't get to do the NJA teachers, well, we're not entertainers or educators comment that I got this year. And I go, got it. How's it working? How happy are you in the classroom? And her friend behind her is going, like laughing at her. I teach my instructors 10 pattern interrupts, and I will tell them 5 pattern interrupts, go. And they have to crank out pattern interrupts. If I walk into a classroom and none of the kids are paying attention, and I go, moo. Yeah, you're laughing, but I guarantee you every single child will look at me. Now, here come your stories. Here come your conversations in your head about, I'm not going to do that, that's too silly. That's fine. Enjoy your self-sabotage. Don't be their hero. Let them move on, and don't be happy. Or walk into your classroom and just go, moo. Other pattern interrupts, accents. If you're in your classroom and the kids aren't paying attention and you start doing an accent, it doesn't matter what the accent is. Even if you're in this program and you weren't paying attention to me before, now your ears turned up. And all I have to do is say, get in my belly. And now you're paying attention. Does that make sense? Oh, by the way, see that ha-ha-ha thing? That laughter? Yeah, that's allowed in preschool. If you spent the whole day laughing with your kids, you would have no behavior management problems whatsoever. There's no behavior management problems when you go to a comedy club and you have somebody like Chris Rock, or you have somebody that steals the show and there's no time and no room for side conversation. But if you got somebody up there doing bad jokes, then you want to look on your phone, you want to talk to your friend. If your kids are engaged the whole time and you're having fun, there's no behavior management problems. How many of you just go into if none of the kids are paying attention, just walk into the class. Instead of and starting to get mad, just go, row, row, row your boat. Why'd you sing? Well, I just went like this. Oh, well, what is it? If I went, give me all your money. Everybody buy a book. Why am I still holding this in my hand? I still haven't drank it yet. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Cucumber water. Yeah, my classics. Okay. So the first thing you do is you pattern interrupt the kid. How many of you use a pattern interrupt that you didn't really know was a pattern interrupt, but it works to get their attention? What's one? Okay, young lady in the glasses. Yes. What's one pattern interrupt?
I was teaching about lightning and thunder.
Okay.
And I went, boom! And everybody was booming.
Yeah, and how long did the pattern interrupt last?
2 seconds.
Perfect. Okay, good. Anybody else got a pattern interrupt that works? Yes, ma'am.
I do a trumpet.
Okay. And does every single child go? And look. And how long does it last? 3 seconds. Okay. Excellent pattern interrupt. That's fine. Yes, ma'am.
1, 2, 3, 3.
Okay. Does it stop every single child immediately and they look at you?
Pretty much.
Okay. So then what could you do as the champion for these children to change it so instead of pretty much, it's every kid looks at you for 2 seconds? See, I'm going to give you an example. Comedy is very easy. If you think you can't do comedy, you're wrong. Comedy is broken down into say one thing that makes sense, say the second thing that makes sense, and then say something that doesn't make sense, and then the brain hiccups and it laughs. Okay? 1, 2, banana. See, your brain went, okay, right? If I go A, B, C, D, E, F, monkey, right? Your brain goes like that. That's comedy. That's all you have to do. That's just comedy right there. Or even go get jokes. Mushroom walks into a bar. Bartender says, I can't serve you. Mushroom says, what? I'm a fun guy. Then he looks around and he goes, you know what? I'm going to get out of here. There's not much room anyway. Some of you are like, that was not fun. Skeleton walks into a bar, says, can I get a beer and a towel? Explain it to your neighbor during lunch. Okay, that's fine. Bear walks into a bar, says, bartender, can I get an iced cold beer? And the bartender says, yeah, sure, buddy, but why the big pause? Okay, good. So, but these are jokes for adults. You walk into your classroom, you go, knock, knock. Boo! Don't cry, it's only a joke. But then, your master manipulator will see the response of all the other kids, and he'll go right up to you, and he'll go, knock, knock, and you'll go, if you go, I just told you that joke. No, you go, who's there? And he goes, boo. And you go, boo, and he goes, it's all a joke, even if he screws it up. If you laugh, and watch, 20 years from now, that kid's going to be Will Ferrell number 7. Because of comedy. Because you just taught them a way how to get their attention. Here's the next part, the pre-frame. Now look, how many of you had an 8-hour job before doing this? Okay? Okay. How many of you with an 8-hour job had a manager or supervisor that would come by and say good job or high-five you once every 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that? You're laughing. Once a day? How many of you in your 8-hour a day job, if you made a mistake, how long would it take you for somebody to let you know? Right away. They may even go find another manager just to come in like Office Space, like, yeah, you didn't do your TPS report, whatever. Okay? We love. How many of you like to be wrong? Got it. How many of you like to be right? I didn't say about what. We love to be right. We fight wars on this planet because my Bible's right, your Bible's wrong, my religion's right, your religion's wrong, all these things. You need to be politically correct. What was that guy that, you want to solve political correctness, have people be happier? Okay, I'll give you a real easy solution. You know the racist people? Like, you know that one guy with the basketball team and he said racist stuff? You know what you do? Wait for him to die. And then educate the younger kids. And eventually we'll have people that are nicer and happier, this and that. Hopefully we'll teach them responsibility. But if you expect, someone that's been a certain way to be this way, that's been this way for 50, 60, 70 years, and then all of a sudden everybody's happy-go-lucky and you expect them to change, how's your expectation? And then you get upset at them for saying something offensive, who should you be upset at? Yeah, I don't want to be upset at myself, I don't like doing that. So a pre-frame is designed as an over-the-top, obnoxious hint as to what you want your child to do, but we don't give instructions because when you give a command or an instruction, our first initial response is to do what? The opposite. I'm going to give you a pre-frame, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide joy kinesthetically and physically in your bodies, okay? So ready? Watch. Answer this question. Ready? 1 + 1. Good job. Yeah, see, hear that laughter? See the people that are smiling and the people that are actually trying not to smile? Yeah, that's called joy. We were right. I create a situation where I allow you to be right, not allow you. I create a situation where you become right, and then when you become right, that brings joy to your body and you like me. Ready? Next one. We're up it a little bit. 2 + 2. Who said 4? Raise your hand. I'm so proud of you. But But you're smiling. Now some of you are going, that's just dumb. I didn't get the answer fast enough. But you got another you going, I got the answer right. Wait a minute. You see that? All I'm doing is I'm not telling you to do something. Okay? I'm just providing opportunities. All right, for the math geniuses, ready? 275 times 0. Good job, whoever got it. All right. So do you get what I'm saying? So now, first pre-frame. Some of you already use this one, so the ones that are already saying before they even know what I'm going to say, I already know this stuff. You may actually be right for this time. Okay? How many of you use I like the way? Okay? Like if you have a classroom of 15, 20 kids, and you say, I like the way you're sitting crisscross. I like the way you're sitting crisscross. What does every single kid do? Crisscross. Now some of you that never did I like the way are going to be so mad at me when this works. That's fine. Okay? We'll be doing a karate program, and we're outside, and I go, I like the way you're standing by the railing, I like the way you're, and nobody's by the railing. And then you have the one little master manipulator going, there's nobody by the railing. I'm like, are you sure? Now there's 10 kids by the railing, and they run over. Okay, first pre-frame. So you pat them up to get their attention. Okay? If you're listening, hands in the air, touch your nose, bump in your mouth, sing a song, do a dance, whatever it is. Then all of a sudden, I like the way you're sitting crisscross, I like the way you're sitting crisscross. Second pre-frame, an auditory pre-frame. Okay, let me ask you a question. Is my favorite TV show on right now? Let's see, what do I watch? Okay, is my favorite TV show on right now Grimm? Or is my favorite TV show on right now Walking Dead? Who said Walking Dead? Good job! How'd you guys know? How'd you know? The way I said it, I changed tone of my voice. Is my favorite color blue or is my favorite color purple? Good job! You see, it's that high five thing. It's that energy that you give. Do I want you running or do I want you sitting? Crisscross. Crisscross. Do I want you to go right to your table from outside or do I want you to wash your hands? As opposed to, wash your hands. Did you wash your hands? Wash your hands. Go wash your hands. Like that. How many kids sit there washing their hands and the water's here and their hands are here and they're just standing there? Are you going to yell at me yet? How about now? How about now? Okay, good. See, the problem with our society is the way that we set it up is the way we put it on our kids. If you do everything you're supposed to do, you don't get attention for it. And the second that you display a negative behavior, you get attention from the teacher and the other kids. But it doesn't make sense to us when Billy Master Manipulator is sitting at his table and he's actually drawing a crayon and he's doing a good job. It doesn't make sense for us to go to him and go, and interrupt him and say, I like the way that you're sitting quietly. Our brain goes, I'm just going to be And then he accidentally drops a crayon on the ground. You have Susie Tattletale go, oh, Billy just dropped the blah, blah, blah. And then instead of you disciplining the Tattletale, because you want this kid to be, we're going to talk about that a little bit, being a snitch. You know, snitches love it. And here's the thing, your kid's Tattletale. But if there's no consequence, why wouldn't they? Like with me, I teach the kids, if you're tattletaling, then you're trying to get someone in trouble. If you're trying to be a helper, you're getting them out of trouble. So when I have a kid tattletale, I go, wait, if you tattletale, my behavior management system is you get a 1, you get a 2, you get a 3, you go to the breathing spot, and then you come out of the breathing spot, and then if you stay in the class, you get to play, but you don't get a stamp, and if you get a 4, you go back to your class. You guys can do whatever, your red light, green light, whatever you want to do. But if this child tattletales, I tell them, are you about to tattletale? Like, is your friend in trouble, or are you trying to get them in trouble? And then they look at me, they think after I made sure the conversation was clear, and then they go, okay, now do you want to say something? And if they go to me and go, he's doing this, I go, got it, that's a 1. It's the same thing as if a kid comes up to you and asks you for something, and then you say no, and then you're upset when they go to the other teacher, and the other teacher says yes. But if you go to court, and you don't like something that the judge says, you go to another court and you appeal it. So all the kid did was appeal it. But you're mad because a kid got one over on you. I'm looking at that kid like, good job, Mr. Attorney. I mean, that's fantastic. Does that make sense? Third pre-frame, visual pre-frame. Do I want you, let me see. Is it hot out? Do I like the cold weather? I don't even know. Do I like the cold weather or do I like the hot weather? How'd you know? Because I'm doing head movements. Do I want you to run or do I want you to sit? Okay? Do I want you to sit up on your mat or do I want you to sleep on your mat? It's very, very simple. And if you get really good at it, then you walk into your classroom where you're there, you want to get the kids' attention, you go, woof, woof. I like the way you're sitting quietly, I like the way you're sitting quietly. Do I want you guys to run around? Do I want you to go to your centers? And then all the kids know exactly what you want them to do, but there's no wall that comes up. Now, for your master manipulator, for your little one, that you say to them, do I want you running or do I want you sitting crisscross? And they look at you, and they get the big eyes, and they go, you want me running? And they sit there staring at you, like waiting for your face to get mad or upset or whatever it is, and then you give them a response. Here's the problem. You guys have been giving responses and reactions and feeding negative behaviors this whole entire time, and you may not even realize it. When you give an upset look, a sad look, a frustrated look, a disappointed look, and whatever else look, do the kids really care? Oh, but look at Miss Lisa's face, she's sad. Well, I know I did that. Oh, but I'm very disappointed. I'm going to tell your mother. You can tell your mother. I mean, you get what I'm saying? So what I did was I watched a show years ago called Lie to Me. It's all about micro-expressions. And the guy, Tim Roth, was the actor. He watches people's facial expressions, and he watches their nose and this and that. So when you do anything towards, bless you, when you do anything towards your child that gives a facial expression, you're feeding into that expression. Like I do bullying programs in schools, I do bullying programs in corporations. And I teach the same thing. I teach something called the power look. It's the only way not to give a response to somebody that's instigating you. For example, I like the way that you've been a good listener, thank you for being here. I like the way that you're being a good listener, thank you for being here. And then all of a sudden I see somebody displaying a negative behavior that I don't approve of, and I just go, she gave me a dash, she's been over. Okay, and then I go, I like the way that you're being a good listener, I like the way you're being a good listener, and then all of a sudden I see somebody displaying a negative behavior that I don't approve of, and I just simply look at them and I go, okay, so that was good. All right, awesome. I like this. She stuck her tongue out of me like your kids are going to do. Now, what was the expression on my face when I was looking at these ladies? Okay, happy? I hope so. Okay, cool. What was the expression on my face when I was looking at this young lady and this young lady right here? What was the expression on my face? Okay, so someone said disappointed. Let's hold disappointed. What else? Different word. Stern. What's one word? Some people said blank. Okay. Indifferent. Angry. Okay, so who said disappointed? Have you ever had somebody in your life that gave you a look that resembled that they turned out to be disappointed in you? Okay. Who said angry? No, they're hiding. Okay, fine. Okay, so any expression that pops up into your head is your own story. It's your own. Human beings, when they don't realize, when they see something new, you have no choice. You have to go back into your memories, try to figure things out. For example, what color are aliens? Green. Really? How many people have you seen? Right? Green. If an alien came off a ship and looked like us, we'd be freaked out. Like, where's your green? I mean, do you get what I'm saying? We immediately go into that. The power look, greatest tool. When I was looking at you, where was I looking around your facial area? You're saying right in your eyes. Okay. What's that? Okay, oh, book in the eye. 100%, absolutely. That's not what we're doing here. Okay? So anybody that already has a thought in their head, I already do that, and you're looking at the child's eyes, be responsible, be a grown-up, be an adult, and get that's not what I'm doing. Top of the forehead. And I hum a song to myself because even though I've been doing this for 10 years, I still have some kids that are going to stick their tongues out, okay? And some kids that are going to make faces, and my row, row, row your boat in the back of my head stops my internal dialogue going, well, I hope this works, this is really bad, I got 200 people in this seminar, and now if I break, blah, blah, blah. It's going the whole time. Does that make sense? So when you do the power look, what you're doing is you look at the child's forehead, and you hum a song to yourself, and you saw my face go emotionless. So imagine a child pushing every button under the sun and spending months and years getting you to display all these different behaviors and pushing your buttons and playing you like a fiddle. And now you walk into your classroom, and the second a child displays negative behavior, you just go. And then you look at 2 or 3 other kids and go, oh, I like the way, I like the way. Now, you do that a couple of times, and that child is going to start going, okay, what just happened? I used to get this response and this response, and now all these other kids are getting the responses that I want. Let me try it out one more time, and then you just go, and then you move on. And the great part is when there's like 3 or 4 princes around, and the king, and the princes catch it first. So they're like, oh, and then all of a sudden, you're just like, but notice, my body's emotionless, okay? Pattern interrupt, get their attention. If you don't pattern interrupt, and I bug my instructors about this too. Oh, pre-frame, they're pre-frame. What did you do before? Pattern interrupt. Okay, pattern interrupt, pre-frame. Tell them what you want them to do without giving an instruction, give them a hint. If they don't do it, you give them the power look. So this is exactly what I do to all my kids. Also too, by the way, if you're having a conversation with one of your kids and you're not at their eye level, it's a bullying conversation. Okay? If I'm standing here and all of a sudden I'm just looking down at you, it's a bullying, it's an intimidating conversation for a child. If you can't just as easily squat down and talk to your kids just like that, then every single time you're about to have a conversation with your child, here's the responsibility. Only if you want the conversation to be effective, as opposed to you just saying blah, blah, blah because you want to say blah, blah, blah. Like, you know that one teacher, she's sitting there working with a kid, little kid comes over and goes, Joey pushed me. Joey, stop doing that. What did you just do? Instead of the other teacher, or this is a responsible teacher. Joey pushed me. Joey's not here. Oh, Billy pushed me. Like honestly, when some child comes up to me and tells me anything, if I don't see it, the only words out of my mouth are, if I see it, I'll take care of it. So it's not the kids that are purposely bugging the one kid that's quiet, and then they learn how to run in front of you, and then you see the other kid that finally blew a gasket chasing, and they know exactly how to get that kid to get in trouble when they were the ones instigating. Does that make sense? Like in my opinion, I don't believe anything kids ever say. Like, they're all liars, we're all liars, we're all dumb. Just to start with that. I mean, let's be realistic. So, a child comes up to me. I want to get, some kids are running around. If you're listening, hands in the air. If you're listening, touch your nose. If you're listening, touch your knees. I'll do. If that doesn't work, I'll go. If that doesn't work, I'll do something else. Then I go, do I want you running, do I want you sitting? And then the one kid keeps on running. And I pattern interrupt again, because I have to get his attention. I go, if you keep running, then here's the consequence. And if you don't believe me, keep on running so I can show you the consequence. And that's when you get, and they stop and they sit down, and then I go, high five, good job, good job. And then have you ever seen your kids looking in a mirror, practicing faces, and then like an hour later, they go and try the same face on you? And if you don't, be more aware. There's classes, I work in Montessori schools, I've seen 5-year-olds hold class on behavior manipulation. This is behavior management. There's behavior manipulation, meaning if you want your teacher to come faster, you have to stomp your hands and your feet together and scream. Now, I'm just setting up for my karate class, so I'm not, getting involved, so it's funny because I'm on the outside of it, and then all of a sudden the one kid does it, he's like, no, I saw one of the 5-year-old comes over to the 3-year-old, kinesthetically starts moving his legs to the rhythm, and then he gets it right, he screams, and the teacher pops her head in the bathroom, goes and picks up, oh, what's wrong? And while she's carrying the 3-year-old off, the 5-year-old and 3-year-old had this eye contact, like, see you next week for class. Because they're training us all the time. It's constant. I want you to think about not just now your babies, but your children in your classroom. Your children spend time. They're there for 8 hours a day, sometimes longer. They spend time pushing your buttons. They're bored. How many of you have a bad day once in a while? Okay, just once. I don't want to hear about it every day. I don't want to hear about it. Okay? So, how many of you have a bad day, come home and there's somebody that has the nerve to be happy there. And like, oh, why are you so happy? What are you, really? And then you know the exact thing to bring up from 6 months ago. And even though you know you're going to get in trouble, you know there's going to be a fight, that person is just way too happy. You'll bring up that one thing. You push their button. They're upset. You're good. 1 second's over. Now you're upset. Now everyone's upset. But you still did it. And you still did it because there's patterns in their systems that run in the back of us, that drive us. But at first you have to understand who's running what, okay? My request to you, the other 3-word phrase is try it on, okay? Anybody here go shopping? Okay, when you go to a store and you look in the mirror and you got, let's say you saw the price and it's a dress or a skirt or whatever, you put it on, the price is right, it looks great. The second that you put it on, how long does it take you for you to go yay or nay if everything is perfect? How long does it take you? Right away. So, okay, good. And then you take another piece of clothing on and you put it on and then you do this and you look in the mirror and you go, what's that? Okay, how long does it take you to go, no? Right away. But in both situations, you had to try it on. You had to try it on to know if it's going to work. Okay? That's my request of you. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to have internal things that are kicking in that are going to sabotage you. How many of you have opinions? How many of you have opinions and you know your opinions are right? How many of you have opinions, you know your opinions are right, and you even know somebody that has the nerve to have different opinions than you? And they have the nerve to think that their opinions are right? So here's the thing. A strong person, in my mind, takes on responsibility. I'm asking you to take on the responsibility of being a champion for your children. A champion. That means when you go into school tomorrow, you're not there as just a person that's there. You're their champion. And you ever hear the term, with great power comes great responsibility? If you want true power, you have to take on true responsibility. What do I mean by that? The second that you put the responsibility of that child on anybody or anything other than yourself, you take responsibility off your shoulders and you also lose that power. If you blame your co-teacher, your power's gone, the responsibility's gone. How many of you have ever said something negative, in your minds or not, about one of the, oh, if only their parents would do this. If only this other teacher would do that. If only my director would. Every time you do that, you're throwing the responsibility on somebody else and you're throwing the power away too. But that's what we do as humans. Political correctness is all about getting rid of responsibility. 20 years ago, somebody made fun of you, you would go home, and your parents or whoever would tell you to toughen up, or even as an adult, you would go and you would talk to somebody, and you would think about, why did this upset me? Why did this bother me? And then you would figure out a way how to get yourself stronger, so next time it happened, you would be a stronger individual. But that's not how society is now. Now, all we do is we look for things that offend us so we can then go tell somebody how much it bothers us. I see that a lot in my 3-year-old karate class. It's called tattling. That's all this society has become. Here's the thing. Somebody comes up to me and tells me, okay, I did a workshop at NJA. Okay, I did elementary school teacher convention. It was 3 hours long. I talked about how much I love the martial arts, love martial arts, love martial arts. I had all the way in the back sat this one lady, and then I told her how I don't like uniforms in my classes. I don't do uniforms because I worked in a karate school. I saw these kids put their uniforms on, take their shoes off, say yes sir, yes ma'am to the instructor, put their uniforms off, take their uniforms off, put their shoes back on, and immediately their mindset goes, Mommy, I want ice cream, I want... No. So I teach, in our karate classes, my instructors, and even we teach yoga and karate together, all this cool stuff. But they just wear like a t-shirt that has our logo on it, and shorts or whatever, because martial arts is a 24/7 type thing. I want these children to get an understanding that respect is all the time. Does that make sense? Anyway, so I talk about karate is great, karate is fantastic, I don't like uniforms. Out of a whole 3-hour workshop, workshop. She comes up to me afterward. My family has been have martial arts schools for this generation. I love uniforms, and I think uniforms this, and I'm offended at, that you said that you don't like uniforms. So I said to her, wait, who's offended? She goes, I am. Got it, and that's whose problem is. Does that make sense? Now, how many of you went, I don't like that? Yeah, we don't like that. We as human beings create words and situations to alleviate ourselves and brainwash ourselves from not taking responsibility. How many of you have ever been pressured into doing something? Okay, never happened. Sorry, this is where the uncomfortable part, but here's the thing. With every breakthrough comes a breakdown first. Okay? So this is the uncomfortable part where you realize how powerful you really are, and you realize how much of that power you have actually not allowed yourself to take on. Pressure, not cabin pressure, not air pressure. He pressured me, she pressured me. No. There was a situation in your life where you made a choice that wasn't the choice that you really wanted, based on whatever story you created about that other person. He's intimidating, she's intimidating, blah, 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 blah. And then instead of taking on that, and then that was a choice that was huge. And then whatever decision you made in your life that now goes to this day, instead of taking responsibility and going, why was I upset? Why did this bother me? How can I do better next time? You just go, oh, she pressured me, gone. It's so easy, especially with adults. But with that pressure gone, there goes the responsibility, there goes our power. I ask you to be champions for these kids. I have in my Google Calendar 4 kids' names 30 years out. Because I know that these kids who were my hardest kids, and my sharpest kids, and my testers, those are the ones that I can't wait to find out, Joshua, blah, 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 his last name, and who is it, Poppy, blah, 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 and she's going to be an Oscar winner, absolutely. He's going to break the space-time continuum or do something. This kid's going to build the highest skyscraper just because, his teacher said, don't build Legos too high because, oh no, the Lego might fall, and what's going to happen? I don't really know, but I know you're not supposed to do it because, and then he's going to build a skyscraper that hits the moon or whatever. I ask you to take on that responsibility. Now, your opinions are going to kick in. Your inner voice is going to kick in. You know your inner voice? Yeah, that one right there. That's asking, all these questions, this and that. Why is he up there sweating? He's not even moving, blah, blah. But whatever. That inner voice kicks in all the time. That inner voice judged me when I said I only have a bachelor's in business, and then that inner voice judged me again when I said I'm almost done with my master's in education. It's constantly going. It's constantly going. And that's unfortunately our sabotager that is in our mind. So when your voices kick in, it'll say things like, you don't know my kids. You're right. Congratulations, you won. Great. Okay. Oh, this won't work for him. I've tried everything. Have you ever tried this technique? No, but I've tried everything. There's people out there, they just want to, how many of you, now answer this question to yourself, and this is the people that really have to listen. How many of you came here knowing this is a workshop on behavior management, already said to yourself one time, oh, another one? This isn't going to work. This is going to, do you get what I'm saying? This is a self-sabotager. And there's nothing wrong with it, but there's just systems and patterns that you've created in your lives that are sabotaging you from being a champion for these kids. Don't you want to be, that one teacher that your kids remember? But you're going to have to do it not just with your regular kids, but with your master manipulators. Why do I say master manipulators? Because if you have a child that starts off at 6 weeks and 3-4 years later, they're in a preschool classroom for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, pushing your buttons, doing this, testing you, seeing what upsets you, and then all of a sudden, 4 years go by. If you did anything for 4 years in a row, 40, 50 hours a week, would you be an amateur, intermediate, or master? Master. These kids have black belts in manipulating you. They do, and you're not trained to defend yourself. I do bullying programs in schools. I teach mental martial arts. If somebody attacks you physically, they attack your body, you do a body block. If somebody attacks your brain, you do a brain block. This is all mental martial arts. When your kids, okay, so here's one martial art move that these children use. How many kids, when you're talking to them and they're looking right at you eye to eye, all of a sudden they start doing this? And then you do the look at me when I'm talking to you, which always works. And then you start this game. Okay, so the children, so here, I'll show you an example about how your brain sabotages. The children that are doing that, when that child isn't looking at you in the eyes, they're being what? Yell it out loud. Disrespectful. Defiant. Have you seen the intelligence level of these children over the last 10 or 15 years just explode? Like, how many of you have 3-year-olds that you're having like 5-year-old conversations with? How many of you have 5-year-olds that are giving you better dating advice than like Dr. Phil, whatever they're doing? Like, I'm going to try that, really? Like, seriously, these kids are brilliant. And I feel bad for the parents. When I do a parent workshop, first thing I say is take out your parenting manuals. And they go, huh? And they always get the one wife who go, well, I got the kids, I got dinner, why didn't you bring the parent? I'm sorry, There's no book on behavior management, or other than that one, $14.95 there. There's no book on behavior management out there. If you think about it, you're given a child with limitless intelligence, limitless possibility, limitless energy, and like, okay, here you go. What do I do with this one? I don't know. Like, by the 5th or 6th one, you kind of get it right. It's extremely difficult what to do. You actually have like education based on that. But the problem is that your human stops you. Your being human stops you initially. We're not designed to work well with each other. We're designed to be resistant. If I take your hand and I pull, what do? You pull back. I have one program called Outsmart the Stranger for Adults. It's self-defense for women. And one thing I teach is that if you have a ponytail, long hair, and somebody grabs you from that ponytail, your initial response is what? Is to pull. And then that just tightens it and gives the aggressor more power. What I tell them is, you take a step backwards, you alleviate the tension, and then what you do is as you kind of take a step backwards, this is called the ridge hand, and you gently place it into a certain area, that, will take care of the gentleman, and then you run. That's it. Running is the only option when it comes to martial arts. Even Chuck Norris, they asked him a long time ago, Chuck Norris, famous martial artist, they asked him, if somebody came up to you and pulled the gun and said, I want your wallet, what would you do? He said, I'd give him my wallet and ask him if I could write him a check. Why even, I could beat him up, but I'm going to get in trouble. What's the point? So what I want you guys to start understanding is that when you tell a child to do something, their first response is not to do it. Because that's how we're wired. They have to then go into their brains and figure out a reason for them to want to do it, which is giving them extra work. How many of you watch your kids and then you watch them process the information? Like, here's the thing. If you tell a child to, don't touch your friends. Keep your hands to yourself. For example, I want you to feel this. How many of you have any desire whatsoever right now to raise both your hands in the air? Anybody? Okay, good. From this point on, you're not allowed to do it because I said so. No, I said no, you can't. What are you guys thinking about? What would happen? With what?
Like, what would happen if we raised her?
Your hands will be up in the air. You're a thinker. And she's the class clown, the spiteful one. Anybody still thinking about that? Okay, good. So now you feel it in your body. Now, ready? Now, notice this sensation. If you want to put your hands up in there, you can. In fact, go for it. Immediately, what don't you care about anymore? That's how we're run. We're run like this. We're designed this way. Relax. I'm not relaxing. Why would you expect your children to do anything that you tell them to do if we're designed with a human resistance to do the exact opposite? It doesn't make sense. But we spend all this time doing this over and over and over because we don't have another way. This behavior management system, it's called this. My company's called Shuali Life Skills. The program is called the Shuali Structure System. I love using my name. It's very easy, so it's fine. But I'm a guy, so, duh. All right, but the system's very simple. Past the 3 parts, I do something called fast-forward testing. Once I implement the behavior management system, I implement fast-forward testing. Fast-forward testing is pretty much this. Okay, so if you tell a child, keep your hands to themselves, and then you turn around, what are they going to do? Right? Exactly. So, if you're working in the world of not wanting to be responsible and not wanting to be powerful, keep doing what you're doing. If it's working, fine. If it's not, consider maybe there might be another solution. If you want to bang your head into a wall, feel free. That's what, listen, we do that all the time. Oh, by the way, too, pausing is not a bad thing. Like, you know how people say stuff and then they go, like you can have a conversation with somebody and then just continue talking and it's okay, so you don't have to, just want to throw that out there. Sometimes I have to take a breath. If you tell a child not to do something, they immediately want to do it. So I do my behavior management system, which we're going to go over in a little, and then I tell the child, do I want you touching your friend, or I want you keeping your hands to yourself? And the kids will repeat, I want to keep your hands to yourself. And then immediately all in going on in their brain is, I gotta touch somebody, right? So what I do is fast forward. Listen, if you give a consequence to a child, and then even have a small, slight expectation that they're not going to test you, how's that working? You give, a cop pulls you over for speeding, writes you your ticket, now his lights are off, he's done, and now he's waiting for you to pull out. How do you pull out? Well, how do you really pull out? Let me turn the signal on. Yeah, right, all the time. We look. How do you want to pull out? You just cost me 10 minutes and I got to speed even faster. That's what I think. Because we want to do, because that's how we are. So what I do is fast forward testing. If you touch your friend again, and then I give the consequence. If you touch your friend again, this is what's going to happen. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and touch your friend, and I'll show you the consequence. And then they go, huh? Because think about it. The brain, how it works. If you do this, okay, give me a behavior that, just yell out, a behavior you don't want your kids to do.
Whining.
Whining, okay. Because we don't whine as adults, right? Okay. So, don't whine, okay? If you whine again, now, some of your brains are going, well, whining's not that bad. So right there, your voices are kicking in. Well, another one, I was going to say punching some kid in the face. I was going to say put the knife down. Whatever, okay? But you know these 2-year-olds. So if you say to your child, okay, do we want, I don't want you to whine. If you whine again, then here's the consequence. Then they're going to go, like that. So say, if you whine again, then this is what's going to happen. If you don't believe me, whine. So now, instead of their brain going into that mode of, I want to do it because you told me not to, now their brain goes into, wait a minute, now you're trying to trick me into getting that consequence. I'm not going to do it. And now in their mind, they powerfully choose not to display the behavior. Does that make sense? Okay? Fast forward testing. You give them the consequence, and then you say to them, if you don't believe me, then go ahead and try, and I'll give you the consequence. Now, also remember, if you have a consequence that even for 1% of a chance you can't follow through, yeah, just don't do it. Yeah, don't, well, I'm going to call your mother. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're not going to, you can't take snack away, you can't take lunch away, you can't take outside time away, you can't take nap time away. So don't, do that. I go into a school, and I'm going to get my Yogarati kids, and all of a sudden the teacher goes, oh, well, he wasn't being a good listener, so he doesn't get to go to Yogarati. And I go to the teacher, oh, did the director say that? No. Okay, got it, come on, you're going to Yogarati. At what point, and some of you are going, how dare you? But at what point do you get to, if you don't have behavior management skills, why do you get to use you need to create your own. If this behavior management system is going to work for you, it has to work in your classroom where the director doesn't exist. Nothing exists outside your classroom. You take out 100% responsibility, the world is your power station, and these kids are going to be the future generation of magical kids, and nobody else exists. So now you don't think, well, I have an out. I can send them to the director's office. I can talk to the mom and dad. Or if you think about how powerful you truly are, you can go, all right, so I can try this, I can try that, I wouldn't give up on this. You know what? Let me ask another person. Let me go on the internet. Let me do a webinar. Let me do something where you'll keep on working. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. Positive reinforcers. First of all, that's the thing too, is why would anybody do anything that they don't want to do unless you can figure out a way to get them to do it? Okay, somebody tell me, why should your children listen?
Safety.
Safety. Do they care? Just curious. Okay, that's good. I mean, nothing against you, but I want you to realize there's us and what we think, and then there's reality and the kids. And someday we'll bring it together, and that's when the magic happens. What's another reason why kids should listen? What's that? What could be fun? Okay, it could be, okay. I like that a little bit better. Okay? Has anybody here speed? Really? Oh, you go 65 on the turnpike? Yeah, well, you're in the right-hand lane. I fly down the turnpike to Parkway. I don't care. You should go the speed limit because you should do this. No. Then I'll get there slower. I want to speed. It doesn't make sense. So you have to figure out in their mind. Positive reinforcers are the key. And now, some of you, there was a moment in time where children would listen because they did. I remember, my mother would say, do this, and I would say, why? And she would say, because I'm your mother. And I would go, oh, valid point, and then I would go do it. But now, it's the opposite. Do any of your kids ever say this word, no? Yeah, what is that? What do you mean, no? So we use positive reinforcers all the time in our class because I need to get my children and my students to do what I want them to do, but they have to choose it. You get your positive reinforcers also. All the time. Consistently. Every 2 weeks. On what, every other Friday? Are you laughing because of the positive reinforcer, or are you laughing at the amount of the positive reinforcer? Yes. Okay. So, what's your positive reinforcer? Somebody yell out, what's your positive reinforcer? Paycheck. Your paycheck. So now, if your paycheck didn't show up one day, would your behavior stay the same, get better, or worse? Okay. Yeah, what do you mean my check didn't show up and I'm still here? And then some of you would continue your job and create some story. I'm sure it was a mistake in HR, blah, blah, payroll, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks go by again, now you don't get your paycheck again. You don't get your positive reinforcer. How's your behavior? No. So, your behavior would change if you don't get your positive reinforcer. Why would a child's behavior be any different? However, add that to Wikipedia. Why you would think that you and your children are different is beyond me. Just because you've been around longer doesn't mean anything. Just because because 15, 20, 30 years ago, if and when you were teaching, kids were different, that's how it is. But now kids are different. If some of you have this perspective that the kids should change to accommodate you, how's it working? There's so much medication now. These days, it's ridiculous. ADD, ADHD, ODD, oppositional defiance. It's when your child stopped, I told your child to do something and they said no. And then they kept on doing it, so they were defiant, so we need to medicate them. What? What? Like I would never, I have a 4-year-old Maltipoo, 15-pound little cute dog, and he runs around the dog park, and he has high energy. I'm never going to go, uh-oh, too much energy, I need to, medicate him. You don't think about that. You just let them do their thing. My DOG has ODD. But all these things, ADHD. Okay, listen, I get that there's some children that really need medication. Okay? I understand that. But if you're a teacher, not skilled in diagnosing any child with ADD or ADHD, and the second you see a child walk into your classroom that's like this, oh, here's ADHD, boom, responsibility, gone. I don't have to figure out how to work. Immediately, just like that. Then again, if your child is ADHD and they're 4 and they're 5 and they're running around all over the place and you don't know what to do with them, now it's inconvenient for you, we should medicate them. Now fast forward, they're 17 years old, they're the starting soccer player and they have more energy than everybody else and now they're getting their college 100% paid for. Are you going to medicate them then? No, because now it's not inconvenient for you. Does that make sense? Okay, so think about other solutions. I mean, I've seen kids that don't have to go on Adderall and Ritalin and all this and that. All you do is you change your diet. You get rid of all the yellow dye, number one. You stop bringing them to Poisonville, a.k.a. McDonald's. Okay? You stop. What's more expensive, protein or carbohydrates? Protein. So you maybe give a kid an egg instead of a bowl of something. It blows my mind. I get done with the class at 11:30. I go watch some of these kids, and the snacks and the food comes out, and it's Carbville, and it's these drinks. Oh, well, it says orange, yeah, but it says drink. It's not the same thing. Oh, but there's some juice in there. Okay, here's orange juice with sugar, and here's this with sugar, and here's your carbohydrate, and now go take a nap for 2 hours. Right? Because if I give you a triple shot of espresso at 9 o'clock and I said go take a nap, what would your response be? I mean, half the time it's just, I have one little boy, his name is Owen. I started doing soccer with him at 2.5. He's now 3.5, 4 years old. Literally. The whole class. And his teachers, one teacher, she's an old schoolman. Owen, he looks at her, he's like, I got your attention. Other teacher ignores him, so he just goes to other things. What do I have to do for him to be able to play in my soccer class? Normally we start the class at 9:30. I get to the school at 9:15. Okay, to pick up all the kids, set up my soccer stuff, whatever. And this, with him, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I need to get him to the same energy as all the kids. So I take on that responsibility. And I get to the school at 9. And I go and I set up all my stuff. And at 9:15, I go into the classroom and I grab Owen. And I give Owen a soccer ball. And I say, Owen, here's a soccer ball. Boom! And he just runs with the soccer ball there. And then he goes back. And then he goes forward. And then he goes back. And when you think a child should tire out, he then increases like that runner's high. He's got like Owen high. Whatever. So he goes back. And now maybe literally 10 minutes of intense running. 10 minutes. I want to see one of you sprint back and forth in 10 minutes. And he's running this way. And he's running. Number one, your kids will be the most jacked kids in the school. Number two, they might actually be, they're not going to be tired. There's no such thing as a tired child. When they say I'm tired, that means what? I'm bored, exactly. If you got a kid that's tired, maybe it's responsibility. So, Louis C.K., a comedian, said something that I liked. What he said, somebody came up to me, because I came up to him and said, what you said offended me. He said, it's not my problem that what I said offended you. Like I said, it's your problem. If you feel like you have to justify a reason for everything to your kids, then that's fine. But I look at it is like if a child doesn't get what they want in real life, is every person going to sit there and take time and justify with them? No. Some things aren't fair. But if you want to make up a story, but see, that's just adding more things on. For me, it's oh, come on, let's go. Oh, but I want to go. Okay, you can, and then that's it. But now you can start the story of, oh, I'm offending them, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But whose story is that? Do you see how we take, like how many of you have the story that parents should read to their kids? Oh, now I touched the button. Because, oh, of course, but that's your story. That's your expectation. And that's where the problem lies. The problem is this. In our mind, we create so many patterns of things that we set to upset us? How many, what time, today's workshop is done, what, 11:30? That's 11, then we do, no, 11:30. Yeah, 11, we're done, and then half-hour Q&A. Is there anything else going on at 11:30? Or are you guys leaving? Lunch? Okay, so you get lunch, and then what time is lunch over? Okay, 1. Okay, an hour and a half for lunch. Good for you guys. Okay, and then you're gone. When you leave here, what's traffic supposed to be like? At 1. Great. Okay, so now here's how our mind works. And this is going to annoy some people, this is going to push buttons, and this may actually have somebody have a breakthrough with somebody in their life that they haven't been a part of. Your expectation is here in your mind. When you leave here, when I leave here, my expectation is there's going to be no traffic at 1 o'clock. Expectation only exists where? In our mind. So now if we pull out at 1 o'clock and there's no traffic, are we going to sit there and go, yeah, expectation fulfilled? No. You just leave and you don't think about it. But now if you pull out of here at 1 o'clock and somebody had the nerve to like get into a car accident and there's like an ambulance there, now your expectation is not fulfilled and you're actually at a negative. If your expectation that you create only in your own mind is fulfilled, you can't even be at a positive, you're at a neutral. If your expectation is not fulfilled, then you're like the nerve of some person that died right in front of the entranceway, right? Like how many, but you don't think about, we're not programmed to be responsible and take that expectation and go, well, my expectation was I left here, I was supposed to leave here at 1, and now something else happened, so the expectation I created in my own mind isn't fulfilled, so I should really only be upset at who? Okay, ladies, here, you know what, I should have done this a while ago. It's summertime. You're walking in the mall with your man, it's not going to work. If you're into women, that's fine, but this won't work, okay? If you're into, I thought we're 2015, okay? So you're walking with your husband or your boyfriend, okay? You're in the mall. All of a sudden you see something shiny or Percy or something, whatever, and you go, oh, look at that. And your boyfriend goes, uh-huh, and you keep on walking by. What expectation have you just created in your own mind for Christmas or your birthday? You're not, what expectation did you fulfill? Did you create? That he'll get it. Okay? What really happened? Okay, let me show you what really happens. Okay, this is our minds. Honey, okay, ready? So we're walking, looking around, okay? Honey, oh, look at that thing. Uh-huh. Done, gone. Doesn't even exist. And you create an expectation in your own mind that we're going to remember, go, buy it, remember your anniversary, whatever it is. And then when we don't fulfill the expectation created in your own mind, who are you upset at? Not yourselves, who are you upset at? Yeah, this is what I told my ex-girlfriend. I was in her girlfriend. But I said to her, if you want me to get you something, number 1, take a picture of it. Number 2, email it to me. Number 3, text it to me. Number 4, make sure that I put in my Google Calendar. Number 5, make sure I put in my Google Calendar a month before, remind me to get it for you, and then if you really want a chance to get it, shoot me another email for where to buy it for you. And then she's got a shot at getting it. Now you're laughing. Some of you are going, oh. And has anybody here ever met a man who is not oblivious to everything? If you start every relationship and every conversation with a man going, okay, hi, your name is Steve, okay, you're oblivious to everything, okay, and everything's going to be fantastic. Some of you are going, well, because your minds are going blah, 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 blah. But here's the problem. These expectations, how many of you, okay, so the expectation of your children is that they're going to say it's not fair, it's not this, it's not that. Okay? Now, it may happen, it may not. Agreed? Okay. So, what expectation do you put on your children so that when they don't fulfill it, you're upset at the child, instead of being upset at who? Instead of being responsible for who? Because if you're doing centers and one kid's over in the corner, I mean, how many of you ever had a kid that's just not social? Yeah, but if you're a social butterfly, then in your mind, there's something wrong with that child. But in reality, I would rather spend like 5-6 hours alone with my dog, hanging out in the park, reading a book, or watching something on Netflix than being around 3/4 of my annoying friends. I would, because they're not like unplugged. They're not like they think that all the stuff in there. Oh, she did this. He did. They think it's all significant. It's all real. It's not real. This is all just one big game. We come in. We're here for a little bit. We go out to where we're really supposed to. I mean, that's my opinion, but I'm a guy, so I'm right. Doesn't make a difference. So I was waiting for stuff to get thrown at me. How many of you have expectations of your children's parents? Oh no. And when, someone said they get lower and lower. How about, but you're laughing. Embrace that. How many of you have a child that's a master manipulator, how many of you have a child that's a master manipulator, and then the parent comes in and goes, how bad was she? How bad was he? What did he do? Oh, he did this. No, stop lying. How bad was he? So the parents bring an expectation of their kid being bad, and they're not even listening to you. If you have an expectation of parents caring about their kids, that's good, but how's it working? You know you have these helicopters, drop the kid off, oh shoot, it's the wrong kid, put this one back, come on. I told you to say your name out loud when I grabbed it. I mean, you get what I'm saying? It's funny, but how many of you have that one child that doesn't want to be around all the other kids, there may not be anything wrong with that. How many of you watch Big Bang Theory? I wish I could be Sheldon. Sheldon is perfect. He has his filter doesn't exist. If somebody asks him to do something he doesn't want to do, he goes, well, why would I want to do that? Oh, well, you should be considerate of it. No, that's stupid. That's the way that it is, but he's a brilliant scientist. These kids that aren't going to be around, that don't have to worry about all these social this and social that, they're the ones that are going to be able to be in the laboratory 15, 16, 20 hours a day, building the new this or curing cancer or whatever it is. Because that's the way that they are. How many of your kids, how many of your master manipulators are smarter than the rest of the kids? You can say that, it's okay. Oh no, all my children are equally intelligent. No, some are dumb. That's fine, you're allowed to have dumb kids. Some just are. But if they're happy, I can guarantee you that there's somebody cleaning a gas station right now, whistling, and being happy, and going home to their wife, and they do this thing at night called dinner with the family, while the CEO of some major oil company is traveling around the world, never gets to see their kids, who's happier? It's happiness. It's not the level of this, the level of that. Here's my request, because I want to get the behavior manager stuff done. We're going to do a whole half hour of Q&A because they told me to. So if you can remember your question, if you have a question, then take the question and put it in your pocket, and then remember it for later or write it down. Okay? Just like the kids. Who knows? So what I do in that situation, I say, give me the answer. And I love when the kids actually answer my question. I'm going to give you, so we're going to go a little weird for about 2 minutes. Anybody know what energy is? And then there's something called universal energy that's there to guide you. The same energy that all of a sudden you think about somebody, like, oh, I wonder how, they're calling me now. I challenge you to listen to that. Take a breath. Listen. Consider there's other things that are happening, and we don't know everything. Okay? And just listen to it and see if it makes it. If it does, all I ask you to do is just give me a call, let me know so I can go, that's so cool. Okay? We're going to go back. Positive reinforcers are essential because you have to figure out a way how to get your children to choose to do what you want them to do. The positive reinforcer that we use are scented stamps. Okay, I know you guys use stickers, whatever. I love these stamps. You get them from a company called Center Enterprises. They lime, strawberry, grape. This is my favorite one. It's chocolate. But not just any chocolate. You remember Cocoa Puffs? Remember Cocoa? Oh, now you're awake. Do you remember Cocoa Krispies? Where you poured all the stuff in the milk and you eat all the whatever that carby stuff was, and all that's left is just a bowl of chocolate. Right? So, anybody want to? First person to raise their hand and spell. Oh, there you go.